How would you like to make your first million? And today we have Alara, which is the founder of Alara Sage. So Alara, tell us, what are the 5 steps that you recommend entrepreneurs to make the first million?
Welcome to Unstoppable Podcast with Harry Sardinas, inspiring conversations with influential millionaires, investors, thought leaders, entrepreneurs who are making a massive difference with their innovative products and services, and sharing the challenges and wisdom of how they sold their first million.
So this is actually one of the things that I teach. It's my framework. And so the first step is about the revealing. You have to be really aware of what it is you want and with clarity, because from a quantum mechanics perspective, the universe responds to clarity of exactly what you want. So the first step is about revealing that for yourself. The second step is about releasing. It's always that thing where people vision comes in and they become super passionate and lit by that vision. And then all of a sudden what happens is they face their own limiting beliefs. Right? They face the fear and the self-doubt and the inadequacy. So step 2 is about releasing that fear, releasing that self-doubt, and releasing anything else in your life that isn't serving you, that isn't serving your business. What needs to go, right? What needs to move out of your business for you to scale to that next level? The third step is realign. This is really about who are you serving and where is that passion? Because we need to be passionate in our businesses. So where is that passion? What is your value? What is that calling of your soul? Why you created this business, and making sure that you are aligned to those values and to that soul calling in every single part of your business. The fourth step is where you start to rise, where you start to scale, and you are bringing in more clients and creating those offers in accordance with how you very strategically aligned your business, your models, and your strategies to those core values. And the fifth one is revenue. So after you're rising and you're scaling, it's about creating that sustainability, right? Making it where things are working in the background smoothly, you're taking away resistance, you're minimizing as needed, so you can really move into that revenue state of the business.
Wow, that was amazing. You're brilliant. Okay, so let's talk about something that you touched in your 5 steps, yeah, and it's regarding the internal fears of the entrepreneur, because sometimes entrepreneurs will go in business and say, okay, let's do this business, we're gonna make a lot of money, but if we are not healed within ourselves, what happens is that whatever fear we have, it's gonna be projected to our team. It's gonna be showing everywhere in our business. It's gonna show in the product. It's gonna show the way we communicate with our team. It's gonna show the way that we do the marketing. It's gonna show everywhere. So a huge percent, yeah, 80% I would say, of business success is the mindset of the entrepreneur, and for that it's a lot of work that needs to be done. That is, we can call it no business related, but it is business related, right? Because you can have fear, when you're a kid, an incident happened to you, and you make a story out of it. I always said, we are human beings until we are 3 to 5 years old. After that, something happened, and we start to become robots. Yeah, we start to if your mom go there and tell you, hey, don't hit your brother, oh, you're gonna make it mean that you're not lovable and nobody loves you. And from this day, that's it. You die 5 years old, and a robot, an engine takes place, and now all you do is this internal battle to prove and to do things, so to seek love, because you want all we want as human beings, and especially as the kids, in conditional love. So we will do whatever it takes to get that, and then you become an adult, and more events happen in your life, and then we are in business and we are behaving in one way. If I tell you stories, there are people making million, losing the million, making million, losing the million. You say, well, there is a pattern here. There is something. It's not your ability to make money. There is something deep within you that is making you behave like this. So, in your opinion, how important is to do this work with the CEOs, with the founders, and well, with the also the team, to make sure that we have um, that we are running our business from the space of love, from the space of contribution, for the space to give the best to our clients, but there is no an internal robot, making us take decisions and behave in certain way. How,
It's it's massive, right? Because the important thing to understand when we are in a state of fear and or we are in a state of self-doubt, which can be very subconscious, right? I had a client who she was working, she'd been stuck at 250K for several years. She really was
wow,
trying to scale and she couldn't scale.
clearly
And when we started to work, and address it, we connected to this belief structure. She wasn't even conscious of it, where one of her relatives a close relative had had an incident happen right as they were like moving into that next level of wealth beyond 250,000. And she had like acquired this belief structure very subconsciously in her mind that if she were to move to that next level wealth, something negative would happen to her, like to her physical body. She was completely unaware of this, Harry. And so what was happening is she was making decisions from this very subconscious belief without even being aware of it. And so she kept making decisions that were turning her business away from scaling, even though consciously she thought
100%.
she was trying to scale.
Absolutely. 100%, because there is our conscious mind, right, and there is this unconscious mind. Even you can ask to every smoker, yeah, or everyone that drink, they are conscious, and they know that smoking is bad and drinking is bad. They know that. How come they still drinking and smoking? Because it's that the what is driving behavior, unfortunately, is your unconscious mind, right? And this is and sometimes you don't even know that is there. Yeah, I have a story in this very same podcast. One of the person I interview has a friend, or that that the person he was built a successful business for over 20 years, and now he has an amazing exit money for it. Yeah, and the CEO is coming, the owner of the business is coming every month with an excuse. Well, uh, you know, what if this happen? I'm not sure I want to sell. And they were paying for him a very good price for the business. He was everything ready to exit. It was all ticking the box. It was amazing. And the guy again and again and again. And what happened was that that he was afraid. He was afraid that if he doesn't run this business anymore, and he's gonna become a multi-millionaire overnight. Well, what's gonna happen with the friends? Because all the friends in the neighborhood, they're all working class, and he's running the business, but he see himself as a working class as well. And now all of a sudden, he's gonna have the fear that, well, I become a multimillionaire, and what's gonna happen with my life? What's gonna happen with my friends? I'm gonna lose all my friends. I'm gonna lose all this. And the guys stick to the business and unconscious,
Mm-hmm.
taking this decision they didn't want to sell. So, which is which is crazy, but that's exactly what happens. So you see behaviors like that everywhere. Some negative, but another story. I have a friend, right, that when she was a kid, yeah, she she started the grandfather was Jewish, right? And he used to sell stones, yeah. And the little girl go to the grandfather and say, I want one of these stones. And the grandfather was a businessman, told, look, you want this stone? Okay, you have to buy with money. So I'm gonna give you this chick that put eggs, and you get some money, and then let's talk about I might be able to sell you one. Yeah. So the kid goes to the chicken, and the thing start to put eggs. She go to the school, start to sell the eggs to the teachers, to the people in the classroom, and then she's putting all the money under the pillow, all the money under the pillow, all the money under the pillow. Happened after a year, the girl have the pillow full of money. Guess what happened? One teacher goes and knock the door and said, "Look, I want to buy some eggs." The mom freaked out and said, "How come you buying eggs for my kids? You should be ashamed." And then she went and make a big deal out of my friend, the girl. "Look, why are you doing selling this money? Give me all this money." So she took all the money and put it in a bank. That when they get 10, 18 years old, it was very little, couldn't enjoy anything. Bottom line, that happened when she was a girl, and all of a sudden now, every time she built the business, six figure, something happened, and everything disappeared and vanished.
Yes.
Even
Yes.
so, and because it's inside this unconscious mind, is inside that pattern that, well, yes, I'm gonna have a business, but somebody's gonna come that have more power than me, that have
Mhm.
control over me, and that pattern unfortunately keeps repeating. Yeah,
Mhm.
just at a bigger scale, and it's really strange. But if I tell you this, sound like it's a movie, but it's actually reality. And
Yes.
so this topic that we're talking today is really, really important because, if those issues are not clear, when you start to go out there and you start to do business, it will amplify, uh,
Yes.
because now you're doing with bigger money and whatever fear. So one, but on the other hand, you have a lot of entrepreneurs that always say, "Well, I'm perfect. I don't have any issue. I don't think that this is, you know, this is for me. I'm perfect. I have nothing." And in my opinion, we all of us, human beings, we have something that we need to work on, and some of us more, some of us less. But if we don't do this work, and we heal ourselves, and we are clean from the space of peace and love, it will show up. It will show up in your relationship. It will show up in your bank account. It will show up in your business. It will show up everywhere because you're not living like human. Like I said, it's like a mini robot running you that you want to prove something that you make it mean that something happened that you don't even remember, right?
Yeah, and it's important to understand that just because we have these limiting beliefs or these fears, it doesn't make us lesser than. I think a lot of times people say, "No, I'm perfect. I don't have any of this," because they're honestly trying to protect themselves
Yeah,
because they believe that, hey, if I show that I have limitations or I believe that I have limitation, that's a weakness, right? But it's not. I actually think of it as gift because these are the parts that if you're willing to look at it, they create exponential growth within yourself and within your
100%.
life. So if you're going to just deny it, there's going to be parts of you that aren't going to fully grow and expand. You're not going to know yourself at the level that you could really know yourself at. So you
Absolutely.
have the opportunity to say, "Hey, I've got these things and I'm going to address them and work on them. And that's going to make me a better person, a more powerful person, a more clear and present person that can make a larger impact." That's huge, right? Who doesn't want that rather than saying, "Oh, there's something wrong with me that I have to fix." Those are two different perspectives, but your perspective is how you experience your reality, and you have the power to shift your perspective.
Yeah, and I think the other day I saw the documentary of Donald Trump, one documentary of Donald Trump in the in Netflix, right? And it seems to me, for what I saw, that all his life, right, he has been around to prove that he's better than his dad. Yeah,
Mm,
and that's why he become what he become, and
hmm
there is nothing wrong with that. Actually, he's the president of the United States, right?
hmm
However, it sounds exhausted to me that you
Yeah.
are running. You become who you are because of of this drive that you want to prove that you're better than someone, whether you can have better results, yeah, and from different space, from space of peace, from space of
Yeah.
love,
Yes.
from a space that you don't have to prove anything to anyone, right? So maybe I'm wrong. This is the perception that I got out of the movie. That so even you can be a billionaire, right? And now let's go to the impact of that, because you meet some billionaires, 20 million, then they come in, Harry, this guy is dead, and I'm like, what? So sometimes they have a heart attack. They have, because that's the other thing. These emotions, negative emotions, especially when you're running a business, you mind, you have all those issues that we all have. Yeah, very rare. We can escape because
Mm.
it's happened. This is how we operate as humans. Yeah, an incident we
Mhm.
happen in childhood that you don't even remember, and you will make it mean something, and then you're gonna build a story, and this story gonna go be big, and if you when you add 2 3 or 4 incidents like this that define an automatic personality that maybe have nothing to do with who you really are, but it's a defense mechanism that happen to all human beings. So the um, the issue is that when you have these unsolved fears or limiting beliefs within your system, and you're an entrepreneur, and you add to that all the challenges of building a business, which is you need to go out and sell your product and nobody knows you, and the client want to pay you little money, then the supplier want to charge you more, then you have your team that are not good enough because you're hiring the wrong people, and all those negative emotions start to accumulate and accumulate and accumulate, plus your limiting belief and your fears, and all these total emotional baggage, if it keeps increasing and increasing and it doesn't get treated, this emotional pain become a physical pain. And now
Yes.
you can end up with heart attack, with cancer, and it's sad. I always said this podcast on Unstoppable, we want all entrepreneurs to be wealthy, healthy, and happy. But the only way that we're gonna achieve that, there is a big part for them to work on themselves, and for them to it takes courage, yeah, because I've done it, to say, I need help. Yes. Uh, I'm in the point of my life, honestly, that I don't need to prove anything to anybody anymore.
Yeah.
And it's amazing the peace that I have, and the calm that I am, and how
And
it's.
that can't be taken from you,
eh,
that peace can't be taken from you. And
But
that's
it
the
took a
thing.
while. It took a lot of work. It didn't.
Yes.
It took a lot of courage to see
Yes.
that I need help. It took a lot of courage to work on myself and to address all those limiting belief, and a lot of it takes a lot of work and courage. So Alara, why so how can we because this is also something, honestly, that there is people don't even know that exists. And people live all the life. If I tell you a story, how many people haven't spoke with the parent for 20, 30 years just because something like this, and then the person died, and people didn't even remember what happened, and families that don't talk each other, and conflicts between relationship, all because of the same thing, even worse, the pattern has been healed and get passed from generation to generation to generation, which now becomes now your kid or your daughter have no fault of anything. Now, because you haven't healed yourself, you repeat the pattern and pass to the next generation. So it's really critical. However, there is a very little information about this. Some people listening to this podcast, they say, this too crazy. I don't even know what they're talking about. So, so what do you think that we can raise more awareness and to encourage more, especially entrepreneurs, because they drive the economy, they employ people, they should be role models for society, to be open from the early age to start to work on themselves and to work on themselves and to exactly do this energy work, so they know where the energy goes, and try to work that before you scale, because that's the other thing. When you scale, that fears everything will scale with your business, and will be a point that will be suffering because of that. Um, so what can be done, because this is not public knowledge. Definitely don't show you in the school. There is no place to learn that this is something that need to be treated, that had to be addressed, and it needs a lot of courage from the entrepreneur to accept that they need help like everybody else. So what can we do to raise more awareness about this topic?
Well, it's definitely about having these conversations, right? And then for people, it's about the willingness to be open-minded and to begin to be curious about, okay, maybe they're right, right? Harry and Laura, maybe they're right. Let me see, where in my life am I repeating patterns? And from that place of curiosity, right? Not again of like, that means I'm not good enough, that means I'm a bad person, but being curious about what's really showing up in their life. Like, I'm working with a multimillionaire right now who is super successful, very, very successful, successful in his business, successful in his relationship. He's cultivated a beautiful network of
Wow.
people, very heart-centered. But now he's coming to this realization that he's scared to stop. He's now in his upper 50s. He has been scaling and growing and expanding. And
And it's time to let it
he's
go. And
realizing that if he tries to stop, he doesn't know how. And because there's underlying a fear, right? That underlying, I've got to continue to go and prove and validate myself. And if I stop growing and expanding, how do I validate myself, right? So that recognition right there of that underlying feeling that every time he goes to try to kind of slow down, because he has plenty of money, right? To slow down, to step back, he gets this anxiety, right? Our emotions are the signals. The emotions are the signals. So when you feel that anxiety, when you feel that fear, when you feel that sadness, these are all pointing to those belief structures in our subconscious mind. So he was
it
able to
doesn't
say,
happen. It
okay,
doesn't matter how much money you have.
it doesn't matter. No, I mean, he has anxiety, right? Like, people with no money would be like, why does that man have anxiety? Right? But the money is, as we know, is not the solution, right? And so that anxiety, right? So the willingness to say, what am I feeling? What am I experiencing in my life? And what is the deeper energies there? What are the deeper beliefs that are fueling and creating all of that? And yeah, how do I want to go about changing it? Because that's the beautiful thing about all of this, is we have the power to change it.
Exactly, absolutely. There is something that the only person responsible to change and to become a better version of yourself is yourself, right? Recognizing, yeah, you can have a lot that can help you, but and it takes courage. So, for example, these clients, I applaud him because he's very brave, right?
Mm-hmm.
To recognize, well, you know what, I need help.
Mm-hmm.
What's going on? And it's time. It's time to let it go. Same pattern that we find with the other guy, that the story that I told you. It comes to the point that they say, well, who are gonna be
Yes.
if I step out?
Yes. If I
Yeah,
keep doing this. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. But
Yeah.
it's all about to do the work, to do the work on
Mm-hmm.
yourself, and to create a new possibility for you. Because at the end of the day, is um, you go to the certain age and to a certain physical conditions that you cannot be driving a growing of that size anymore, right? You need to give space to a young generation, give space to this. So you have to reinvent yourself to create a new youth, right? And it comes. This is my personal experience. I realize that that fulfillment is it comes really when you help other human beings, when you can transform the life of others. That's very reason why I do this podcast, because maybe somebody listening this broadcast maybe say, wow, look what Alara and Harry were talking about. I listen to them and I start to work on myself and wow, I clean this and now my business is doing amazing. We never know if someone can hear this conversation and we can change their life forever, we can make a big transformation. That makes me happy. That gives me fulfillment when people on the street or in the metro there in London, I always dress purple like this, very colorful, so very difficult to miss me. So the people are, Harry, is that you? Man, I was in this conference. I did what you say. Look, my family, my business is growing. I'm so embarrassed in the metro. Everybody looking at me and oh God. And then, but when you arrive home, you say, wow, unbelievable that, that person that I say something, I don't even remember which conference. And he did it, and he's doing well, and I make a difference in his life. Unbelievable, right? So that level of fulfillment, you get paid different currency. It's better than money, get paid in love, in appreciation. It gives you fulfillment, and when you have that, there is uh, you get paid good energy, love. People. Want to be around you. It's like I said, when we're in London, a lot of people, how are we going to eat? Let's go and eat, let's go and eat, let's go and eat. So we have invitation every day, right? So the whole point of the story is that there is more there is when you shift that paradigm and you find a way to become a contribution for others, right? This is could be a very good space to reinvent yourself, because that happened to me. I want to become a millionaire, I want to make the first million, I want to make a million. Then when I make a million, I'm like, what? You know, then is you are empty. You're still empty.
Yes.
It didn't did what you thought it's gonna do at all. And then this is when this type of work started. When I started to do this type of work is, when this incident happened, I said, wow, something happened here. What is, I'm trying, I thought that is everything that I want, and then I have it, and I'm still the same. Uh,
Yes.
so then you start to work on yourself. So yeah, it's about raising awareness. But then, Alara, what would be the process? Yeah, or the easiest way? Because that's the other thing. Entrepreneurs, I think that if you go to a psychology, entrepreneurs, we need a different type of psychology. You have to be an entrepreneur first, because otherwise they're not gonna understand, the need. So this is a special type of patient. Yeah, you're talking about the 2% of the population, the people that drive, that the innovators that create the products,
Mhm.
that drive the society, that create the jobs for somebody else, that create the jobs. So this is a very specific type of species within the human race, which are the entrepreneurs, which I find them fascinated. That's the main reason we do this podcast. So how you treat a patient like this? How you treat a patient that owns 300 supermarkets, that have, and then because I have clients like this, that own 300 supermarket, headquarter, food building. How you coach? How you help these people? Yeah, that
Yeah.
they are sometimes it's challenging to work with them. Yeah.
Yes, well, I have the benefit of being able to, assist in the energetic side of things. So I can see energy and I can help energy to shift. So, without, going deep into energy, our thoughts create energetic vibrations. As Nikola Tesla says, the universe is energy. So I can see all of that energy and help to shift that energy, which immediately has results on the person. And additionally, outside of my skills and how I support my clients, the way that people can do this is the first step is always that awareness, the willingness to have that awareness, the willingness to really look at your life and like you did, like, okay, I just made my first million. Why am I not fulfilled? Right? That inquiry, that curiosity, that awareness. And then understanding what is that belief, what are those parts of my life that just really aren't serving me. That can be habits, patterns, behaviors, right? And you can do this in sections. I recommend everybody, if they're wanting to go down this road, like you can take an aspect of your life because it's all going to be interwoven. So you can take your business, for instance, and say, okay, where in my business do I just really feel like something isn't quite jiving? Right, there's just keeps being this resistance, or this keeps something isn't quite working. Maybe it's in the team and the communication, right? Like, why can you never hire people that communicate well, right? Or why are you always hiring people and then they leave, and you have to keep hiring and then they leave, and you're training and spending all this time and money, getting talent into your business? Why is that a pattern? Why is that a pattern, right? So as soon as you start to identify, then you take that awareness a little bit deeper and you sit down and you contemplate, what is this pattern here that I am creating? And as soon as you have that awareness, kind of as I mentioned before, this is about, and as you've mentioned, this is about love, right? Because if you're going to sit there and judge yourself and say, geez, I am carrying stuff from my sibling, right? Because my sibling always gave me a hard time, and I'm bringing all this into my business. And this is like, I'm just a bad person, or however you're judging yourself, that doesn't work. That doesn't heal the energy. That doesn't transmute it back to love. The only energy that transmutes is love. So we have to be willing to accept ourselves, willing to accept that we have acquired these beliefs, that we have created our reality from these beliefs, because sometimes it's a really big pill to swallow. Sometimes when you do this contemplation work, you'll say, wow, I have really brought some of my trauma into my business.
100%.
And look how much money I lost. Look how much time I wasted, right?
The
And
employees,
so, yeah, and
many
it's
good
not
talent
about,
walk away, right?
yeah, it's not about giving yourself a hard time. It's about forgiving yourself and that acceptance piece. Okay, wonderful. I accept the fact that I had trauma. I accept the fact that I unknowingly brought that trauma into my business and wasted all that time and money. I accept that I did that, right? Because that acceptance is what starts to actually alchemize the energy. And then from that point, it's about seeing, like I said, those patterns, those habits, those beliefs, and then choosing, how am I going to change this, right? So the next time I go to hire an employee, what am I going to do differently? Right? And you step all the way back from the first thing that you go to do when you hire an employee. What is that new pattern, that new habit that you have to bring in, you have to start implementing? It's that action step, right? That is going to now bring a new belief structure into your business energetically and strategically. So you start to create a different pattern for yourself. And those are the 3 steps: awareness, acceptance, and action.
Absolutely. That's really, really powerful. So, Alara, if people are in love with our conversation and they want to learn more about you, about what you do, how can they find you? How this process work?
Absolutely. I'm at alarasage.com. Yes.
So then how the process work? They go there, what they have, they find the phone number, they fill a form.
Yeah, well, there's various different ways. I have free resources there if they want to start to kind of play. I have what's called a quantum wealth blueprint. It's 5 days to quantum wealth strategy. So it's actually the framework that I brought through, and it takes you deeper and asks you questions that you can go and ask yourself about your business and start to recognize some of the things that we spoke about here today. So that's a free resource. I also have, one-off sessions, and then I have, long-term programs. So there's various different ways that people can work with me depending on their needs.
But how you find out about this? How you become an expert in something that it doesn't exist and very little people talk about it? Yeah. How you learn
It's
all this
like
stuff?
literally who I am. It's
Oh
gifts
wow.
I've had since I was a kid, and that I've cultivated, just the psychic abilities, the oracle abilities I've had since I was a child. And then as through
Oh,
my own entrepreneur journey, and then beginning to work with other entrepreneurs, just seeing, and honestly, how good I am at this process, because I can see the
I can
problems
tell.
and
I
I can
can
see
tell
the
you're very
solutions.
powerful. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
You are really powerful, and you clearly very passionate
Mhm.
about this. Yeah.
Yes, very
So
passionate.
you wow, that's amazing. Well, here you are. You see, for this you definitely need talent. Yeah, this is not something that in the energy. But at the end of the day, we vibrate in a certain frequency, right?
Yes.
And if we are happy, we are exactly with this. You have done the work on yourself, so you're coming from a space of love, and you don't have nothing to
Yes.
prove, so you don't have to force any outcome. Life become peaceful,
Yes.
uh, and healthy, and
Yes.
you appreciate the little things. And maybe, like sometimes people come to me, Harry, let's do this business. We're gonna make a lot of millions. I'm like, well, I prefer, I prefer don't have an alarm clock and go for a walk. Honestly, yeah, and so you start to appreciate different things, and then it comes health into the play, because people might think that, oh, look, Harry and Alara talking this about this topic X, Y, and Z, but all this stuff that we're talking, it have a huge impact in health, because as we discussed before, all these all these negative emotions, all these patterns there, if you run in a business, or not even a business, in your normal life, and those patterns keep going and going and going, to some point, people, this anxiety, this stress, when amplifies, you know your body take a hit,
Mhm.
cancer, heart attacks, depressions, long depressions, and you don't even know when the depression started in the first place, and it's got those for patterns that we are running, that we are unable to identify, and to work with. So I congratulate you for this amazing job you do. Yeah, we
Hmm.
need a lot of work and a lot of conversations around this topic, so we can help our fellow entrepreneurs out there to see that there is another way. There's nothing wrong to do what you're doing in the way you're doing, yes, but there is another way of doing it,
Mhm.
and it can be more peaceful. You
Yes.
can be a person of contribution. You don't you can actually operate like a human being from the
Mhm.
space of love and contribution to others, and this is a great space to operate. Yeah, things come to you easy. You don't have to force any outcome. Things comes to you, right? This
Yes.
podcast, Alara, is
Yeah.
full. I don't know how I started to do it, and this broadcast, for this unstoppable, I don't know how I see it in my calendar, and every time we do it Tuesday and Thursday, and it's packed every slot back to back, and I don't even know what's going on. People just book themselves, and it's because it's what I'm telling you. When you operate with this type of energy, and people are telling me that
Yes.
they want to participate in the podcast because they're listening to it, they love it, and
Mm.
now they want to be in. They find a way. I don't know
Mm.
even how they find a way. My team knows how to do that. I don't know. They find a way and they book themselves. So it's amazing way to operate like that. Don't you think?
Absolutely. And I just wanted to say, you speak a lot about peace. And also, I think, one of the reasons all of us become entrepreneurs outside of the passion and the impact that we want to create is freedom, right? We
100%.
want that freedom. And a lot of entrepreneurs find themselves oftentimes kind of in the opposite of freedom because maybe they have time, but they might be really laden with stress. Right. And they might be really under stress and, under that pressure all the time that is really the opposite of peace. So, what you speak to with peace, I just wanted to point out, is also that space of that true freedom, which first is cultivated internally, and then you create that externally of yourself. And again, those things can't be taken from you. No matter what happens to the economy, no matter what happens to your business, as you cultivate that, that stays with you. And that's, invaluable.
Priceless. I think, like I said, is it will keep you happy and healthy. Yeah, which is
Yes.
we all become entrepreneurs, and this is true story actually happened to me. When I started my property business, it went to the point like, would make the first million, but it went to the point that I went to the office and my managers, they get it to me, Harry, go home. We don't need you in this business anymore. We can run this without you. So the whole thing was running autopilot. Yeah. So I said, this is the dream of the entrepreneurs. Wow, to build something that actually run by itself and you don't even need to be there, right? And then I'm at home and I'm so stressed out.
Yes.
I'm like, oh my God, all this money coming to me. I'm not working. This is very strange. This is weird. And this money comes to me, and my head is going to spin on and on and on, watching movie every day, right down, take a plane and go on holiday. My brain is going on and on and on. Guess what happened? I go there, I go to Brick Lane, I open a restaurant, I lost 200,000 and 2 years of my life. You know what I mean? So I'm telling you that, and then I'm like, what? Why I did that to myself? This is insane. I should take a plane and and travel the world. But that's why you understand. That's why unfortunately I knew that I know about this that we're talking about long time before. Yeah, honestly, I didn't know that exists. But I started to do some internet searching after these patterns are showing up, because after you sit and you said, this doesn't make sense. What I'm doing this? What happened? Why I behave like that? And exactly what you said. There are issues, things from childhood, from us growing up, that it has to be treated. They have to be healed. They have to be clear, right? You
Yes.
can operate from a space of peace and freedom. So then you don't do crazy things. You don't sabotage yourself, because
Exactly.
that's this pattern we find even with a lot of people that we interview here, loads of them, um, sharing stories like that they make the first million and more, and overnight they are, you know, Liam, one guy from New Zealand we interview here, he said he goes there, he built his business very young, 23, 24, and his dream was to have this house in the mountains in New Zealand, and at very early age he has all that, and he's sitting in his living room saying, well, that was it? I worked so hard just for this? I'm not happy. I'm not fulfilled. Guess what happened? 2 months, market change, took a bad decision, lost everything.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's sitting in
Yes.
the mom's couch, starting to do the work, and little by little, after he cleared himself and he knew what he really wanted and why he's doing things. Now you know what he does. He been 8 years in a yacht, so that's what he actually wanted. So he lives in a yacht.
Mm.
He travels for Europe or the world.
Mm.
He told me that in the interview that he's dropped this yacht for the moment. Now he's driving on a caravan to all over Europe, and then when he's about to get tired of this, so he's about to buy a bigger yacht now to keep going around, and that's what makes him happy. He
Mm.
and listen carefully, and his business operates from New Zealand all by themselves. He only receives an email once
Oh.
every Monday.
Oh.
2 lines, everything is running good, all good, stay there in your yacht, all good. That unbelievable. But he took a big he lost everything. He took a big hit because again, he uh, we all have to go through this process, unfortunately, and work
Yes.
on ourselves. So the people that find you in the life at the early or at any stage, they can consider themselves lucky, yeah, that they can work with you and you can give them peace and freedom, because that's the other thing. You want to become an entrepreneur because you want that freedom to travel wherever you want. You want that freedom to spend time with the people you love, to help them out. You want that. That's why we work so hard to build those businesses. But if we don't do the work, we're gonna be a robot's gonna be looking.
Yes.
It's gonna be operating ourselves. You can even end up being president of the United States, but still, if you do the work, will be easy. Yeah, will be
Mm.
less exhausted, in my opinion. Yeah. So thank you so
Absolutely.
much. for the conversation. Alara, that have been brilliant. I think you're amazing. Yeah, we both are very big fan of purple, so that's also. We are very popular in this broadcast, and it's not only gonna be in audio; it's gonna be all over our social media. So we're gonna be the purple team. Yeah,
The purple team, purple power. Yes.
absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining, and for all of you following the broadcast. You know, our next episode of Unstoppable: How Brave Entrepreneur Like Alara break that wall and achieve the first million. Bye for now.
Follow us for more interviews with world's most influential, audacious entrepreneurs that overcame challenges and adversity, providing you with the blueprint of how they sold their first million so you can grow your business exponentially.